legislation and other things. And I think the best place to start, I was making my notes here last night, is to start with the Washington state model versus Prop 22, because I know, Sergio, you're pretty well versed in both of these. So for those not aware of the timeline, Prop 22 in California went first, followed by Washington state / Seattle's went last year. So I'll do this in two parts. This first question, Sergio's first part is constitutional challenge aside. Where did Prop 22 go wrong? And I ask this because many drivers I remember were very happy when Prop 22 happened, but some of those same drivers are now very unhappy with Prop 22.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole new world of people not liking it.
Yeah, I think, look, Prop 22 was sold as be all, save all kind of a proposition, and as a total complete benefits package for the drivers, right? And that was during, obviously, the 2020 national elections. And look, call it what it is. The company spent close to $250 million with a B to pass this proposition. So if it was not favorable to them, why would you spend $250 million to pass this thing, right? And, there were a lot of issues with it from the get-go. The people who were in the know, like myself and a couple of unions, we knew that this was not good to the general gig working public, because 80% of gig workers are part-timers, 20% are full-timers, okay? The grinders that we call them. And with Prop 22 and the restrictions that it came with, 80% literally just right off the bat fell off the face of the earth. You're never going to get any of these benefits, because the proposition came with limits, or actually thresholds, to hit your active time clock, basically. Okay. So active time, for people who don't know what it is that active time, there's 3 periods in rideshare as well as food delivery. So period 1 is when you're sitting in your car watching YouTube, but your app is on. Period 2 is when you get a request that you like and you accept. That's when period 2 clock starts. That's when Proposition 22 clock starts. That includes for the rideshare driver as well as the delivery driver. Then you go pick up the food or pick up the passenger. Once you start your trip, that becomes period 3 with a butt in the back seat, basically, or food in the car. And that lasts all the way until you drop the passenger off or drop the food off. So Proposition 22 calculates only the active or engaged time or book time, all these new lingos that came with Proposition 22 is that. So you could be literally out there for 10 hours, but maybe you only work for 5 hours on period 2 and 3. They're just going to count those 5 hours, not the 10 hours. And as we know, as the companies say, a lot of these drivers out there do it very part-time basis. Look, DoorDash said it in their earnings. Average work is about 10 hours a week. So you're never going to see any Prop 22 money. You're not going to see any benefits. You're not going to see healthcare stipend. You're not going to see minimum wage protection. You're not going to see any of that. So right off the bat, we discounted or wrote off 80% of the community. And that's a problem. But it was sold as save it all, be it all, benefits package. Now, the other problem with Prop 22 is that the restrictions are pretty bad. I mean, in order for you to get a healthcare stipend under Prop 22, even to get half of it, you have to work 15 active hours per week, and for the whole quarter, week after week after week. Now, if you miss 1 week, you're off, you're gone. And to get the full healthcare stipend that Prop 22 came with, you have to work 25 active hours. Well, when you have those kind of restrictions on, out of the 20% full-timers, some more fell off the wayside. And now we're down to about, from our calculations, about 9% of gig workers or drivers are getting Prop 22 benefits and Prop 22 money. So they also came with minimum wage guarantees, as the companies called it. We can talk about that later. But the most important thing that was not clarified during the campaign was that I was watching CNN commercials on Prop 22 80 times a day.
Shame on you.
And I was forced. I was forced to watch it. But here's the deal. Not once in any of those commercials. They were all like college kids, grandmas. Oh, flexibility. You're going to lose your freedom. You got these benefit packages, which none of them are getting anyway. However, not once they mentioned that, oh, by the way, we're going to have between 75 cents and $1.50 on each rideshare or delivery trip collected from the consumer to pay for Prop 22. We're not paying for Prop 22 ourselves at all. I was like, wow. So now the same thing is happening, as we're going to talk about, all over the country. So this is a consumer-funded proposition. It is not paid by the companies. And we did a back of the envelope calculation, Steve and David. So between just the three big guys, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Uber did 2.3 billion trips last quarter. DoorDash did 520 million trips. That's just right there. It's like close. And with Lyft, that's 3 billion trips. Would that be that the consumer was charged a fee for Proposition 22? Those monies went somewhere. We don't know where. We're trying to figure it out. And now go back to 2020. We're in 2023. Quarter by quarter by quarter. There's billions of dollars somewhere. We don't know where. I'm trying to get it. We're going to get it at some point, probably with the Attorney General's help. We don't know who does the accounting. We don't know where the money is. And if only 9% of the drivers are receiving these benefits, where's the rest of the money? I'm just not sure. So
that's a really good point, because I mean, I can't remember which platform it was. One of the platforms, if not all, were showing the customers Prop 22 as a line item too.
Well, they are still showing it.
So that's a good point, that on every order, Prop 22 is on there, yet not anywhere near the amount of all the drivers are receiving it.
No consumer, no. Look, as a consumer of a rideshare trip or a order, right, on DoorDash, this is not just those three, by the way. So let's just make it clear.
Yeah.
Grubhub, Instacart, Rodeo, Curry, all of them are under Prop 20. Amazon Flex, Walmart Spark, Target Ship, they're all under Prop 22 in California, right? So add those trips. Imagine the money collected, right? So, and like I was, what was I, in LA somewhere, I took an Uber to go somewhere. Sure enough, I looked at my receipt, 79 cents was taken from me, went directly to Uber. I'm like, okay. FYI, it was 75 cents until we busted them with that 4-cent adjustment, inflation adjustment. So I was thinking maybe they'll eat that 4 cents going forward. No. 4 cents was tacked on to my bill immediately. I was like, okay, I'm paying.
So you caught them. So you caught them at something, and they're like, oh, and then they get their little PR out of it. And then they're like, wait, let's just make the consumers pay for all that, though.
Yeah. The extra,
but we'll cry about it to the news.
Yeah,
I have make everybody feel bad for us and stuff.
I have screenshots pre them getting caught and after. Pre, it was 75 cents per trip. And by the way, for DoorDash and deliveries, it's up to $1.50. Now they raised it to 79 cents. I was like, wow.
You know, I
think people just didn't realize that. I forget the exact numbers, what it shook out in then, but it's like, you know, if you did 15 to 25 active hours, you got 40% of like the bronze tier plan. And like that's like 40% of $400, right? So basically they're going to give you $160 for effectively working 35 to 40 hours a week for the whole month, basically.
So if you work between 15 and 25 active hours, you get that. You get 50% actually now, 50% of a bronze plan. And if you work 25 active hours plus, then you get the full stipend, which is up to 80% of a bronze plan now. So,
but it comes out to, you know, $400 a month, basically.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to mention, I don't know, I've talked to a couple people out there who do work the 25 plus and did comparisons on the medical insurance, the stipend, and they were able to go find the same coverage through different companies, but in the Obamacare marketplace for the same price.
Yep.
So really that offer meant nothing.
Well, the other thing you guys have to understand under Prop 22 is that the insurance that you're buying with the stipend that you're going to receive working for 25 active hours has to be approved by the gig companies. They have a list, pre-approved list. It's not like willy-nilly. You can go buy Blue Cross PPO or something like that, okay?
Right.
So most drivers are under Medi-Cal in California, right? So if you're on Medi-Cal, you don't get the money. If your spouse is working at a corporate job that get benefits, you're not going to get the stipend. So eliminate all these people. Then I don't even know where that 9% falls now, right? So it's very restrictive, very constricting. They're making you work for the same carrot and stick game anyway.
So obviously and clearly you cannot work, let's say 40 hours every single week. So you're above that 25 threshold. You can't get your stipend if you if you're not using the insurance.
No, you can't. Yeah. And quarter by quarter. Okay. What if you get sick for a couple of weeks or you have an accident? There goes your insurance. Bye-bye. I'm like, wow. So yeah, that's California Prop 22 for
the crazy
people
one to me
who want to get it.
Most people multi-app, but like I can work 50 active hours across 2 apps, and neither of them will want to talk to each other, and you don't get anything, right?
You're talking about the doubling up on.
Yeah. I could work 49 active hours across both of them, and that's just under the 25 each, and then I get nothing. Basically.
So, okay, so. You guys, I know there's a lot of people who watch this and listen to this that, by the way, the Para podcast has dropped. The first one has dropped. It is live and it will be continuing on audio. So if you're listening, welcome. But I know there's people who enjoy the perks of Prop 22. It does heavily favor the little bits of good it does heavily favor food delivery people.
Yes.
Because rideshare people usually make the 120% of minimum wage in an active hour anyway.
Yeah, I've said this many times, Steve and David. If you're a rideshare driver and you're not making that minimum, you need to quit. You need to go do something.
That's what I was just going to ask you. Like, why wouldn't they just quit? Or go to the food
by the way, when they wrote Prop 22, obviously they didn't anticipate a pandemic, right? That's when food delivery and grocery delivery took off.
Yeah.
And now I think they're so sorry they wrote that thing. But now it's their own doing because they lowered the base fare so much. Right. Literally now, actually, if you're a delivery worker and if you're listening to this in California, here's the deal. Milk that Prop 22 clock. Your minimum is going to be right about, including miles with the 34 cents now, is going to be about $24 an hour. So you can accept every single order. Don't even think about cherry picking, nothing. Accept every order, go your merry way, collect your $24 under
I was gonna even go as far as, Sergio, what would stop me from only working DoorDash, taking every crap order, living in San Francisco where it's $19.88 is the minimum wage, I believe. So that would be, like you said, $24.
Yeah.
What stops me from just delivering on a bike and riding a block every 10 minutes?
Go for it.
or walking orders. I mean, they allow these options.
There's probably a lever of control here, which is how many pings they send to you, right?
Potentially.
But if you're on an order, you're not going to get them.
Potentially. But the thing is that that has killed delivery in California because all these no-tip orders are flying in California because people are taking it just to make their Prop 22 stipend. They're going,
right,
and then the customer has figured this out, by the way.
From the company.
Yeah, the consumer has figured this out, although the consumer doesn't know that they just ordered something, paid $1.50 on DoorDash for Prop 22 money each time they order it. So they're the ones that are paying for it. But now they're putting no tip orders in now because they go like it's getting delivered anyway, not knowing that Prop 22 exists and they're paying.
So before we move on, do you think the companies have moved up what they charge the customers dramatically?
Oh, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Because they're like, wait, we're paying you guys, if it's $250 base pay, and then we'll go back to a car. Okay, so if you have a car and you're doing DoorDash in San Francisco, David, is it fair to assume you can only do 2 an hour? Maybe on occasion 3, but realistically 2.
Between the pickup and the moving and the apartments.
Okay, so in San Francisco, you can do 2 an hour. Base pay is $250. That's $5 if there's no tip, but it's going to pay you $24, so you're going to get $19 an hour from DoorDash.
That's under the assumption that you're active for the whole hour.
Yes.
Right. But if you were just taking every trash order, like, I don't care.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Look, with the mileage adjustment under Prop 22, delivery drivers are set. Rideshare drivers, not so much. So
Yeah, and that was my first thing that I locked in on with Prop 22 when it came around. Was like, I thought this was going to help rideshare drivers, and it doing nothing for them.
Oh no, it was sold that way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Benefits. Oh, drive when you want. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah.
So I really views, why were drivers behind Prop 22? Because it was sort of like, if you zoomed out, they made it a bigger battle. Are you an IC or you're an employee? And I think most people are like, well, I want to be an IC, so I will support it, even though it's not great. But I view this as that's not the end of the war, right? So that was a big battle. That battle got fought, but people are now.
Well, you also had 6 or 7 million more votes on yes for 22 in an extremely blue state, and that's voting with corporations. And so it's not just the drivers who wanted it. That's almost doesn't matter. It's how did the voters get there? And the voters got there because they realized, wait, you mean I might not have my Uber?
Yep.
Don't try and pull my Uber from me.
Yep. Just like, shout out to Katie Wells, who I received her book. I'm reading a great book that she wrote. It's all about this, how Uber's game playbook, they called it, the one in DC, right? And then they spread it around the world. And I would highly recommend everybody to read the book. And exactly like that, Steve, because they sold it they have the power to sell this to both sides in the app. The consumers, they literally did this in DC, and the next day the city council, who was about to pass, in the early days of Uber, some draconian laws to stop them illegal black car service that they had. The next day, the city council had 50,000 emails that they received. What do you mean you're taking Uber away? I like the service. And they did the same thing in California. They were like, look, the total gig force in California, in a state of 30 plus million people, is only like 1.4 million people. The voters were not those. The voters were the public, the consumer. But I wonder if they would have voted yes on 22 if they knew they were going to foot the bill.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But the other thing is, I'm pointing out California because it's as extreme blue as it comes.
Yeah.
So if you think this can't happen in your state, we're about to go a little deeper here.
Yeah,
it's coming. So with that is Prop